नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितमेन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुवैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादा सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखावितांश हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्ता राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रथमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यः च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिते नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Yes, Prabhu. So, yeah, the first step in Krishna consciousness is that we are not this body. We are something else beyond this body. The Vedic scriptures actually claim that we are actually souls. We are actually Atma. We are basically energy. And all of us actually are stemming from a supreme energy, and whose the supreme energy is actually controlled by an energetic. So the goal of life is basically to understand who we are, where are we coming from, and what is the goal. If you don't actually take to this path, what will happen? If you don't take to the path of self-realization, what happens to us? What is our what you call future looks like, and what is the present also is looking like, based on what is our actual life going on. We are right now taken a human body, so we are actually going through a human experience, and then this continues for some time, and that we have to change our body. And when we change the body, what happens at that point in time? It's all actually explained in the Vedic scriptures. Again, the Vedic scriptures is so vast. It's very, very difficult to actually find what is the goal easily. Just to give an example, the whole Vedic scriptures can be actually classified from an activity perspective into Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, and Upasana Kanda. The Karma Kanda and the Jnana Kanda alone comprise of 95% of the shlokas. 95% of the entire content is just these two divisions. And the Upasana Kanda is about 5 to 6%. Now, these three categories actually guide to the same path of the supreme goal. Who are we? Where are we coming from? It's mainly for the human beings. The Karma Kanda talks about what activities one is supposed to do when you take a human form of life, depending on what position you are in your life. Are you actually in a particular ashrama or in a particular varna? It's all classified like that. If you don't belong to any of these varnas and ashramas, that is either brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyasa, that's also the ashramas. And varna is basically what is your stage of life? Brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasa. The other one is ashrama. Sorry, it's basically the it's not about what you call your training. It's more about your stage of life. So these two, the varna and ashrama, that is either brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, shudra, which is your occupational duty, how you behave, or the ashrama, where your spiritual discipline, what you really follow. These two things are explained very well in the karma kanda, jnana kanda. So karma kanda actually talks about activities. So what you are supposed to do as a householder, okay, worship Ganeshji for something, Kartikeya for something, and things like that. Worship the sun if you want good health, and things like that are given, and we also do that. That's actually part of karma kanda. Jnana kanda is basically for those who actually are frustrated with this kind of life. They want to actually understand what is the goal of life. Okay, this is all fine, but what is the end goal? I want to know the end goal. What is the end goal? I need to understand the end goal. Then they actually get to the Jnana Kanda. Jnana Kanda, actually, they start understanding the text are all, a lot of texts actually talk about who are we in. I mean, they don't talk about as a human being at all. Whereas in Karma Kanda, outrightly they say that men should do this, women should do this. If you are in this kind of a situation in your life, you should do this. You're in that kind of situation, you should do that. It doesn't talk about anything about the soul at all. Jnana Kanda begins with the soul, saying that you are not this body, you are something beyond this. So the content is actually more crispier. But how do we understand I'm not the body, I'm the soul? Those things are all explained there. And what is the supreme goal? And you get deeper and deeper into it. So you'll start understanding that whatever I see in this world actually is all matter. There is something beyond this matter. So all those speculative way of gaining knowledge is actually mentioned in the Jnana Kanda. And the last part is actually Upasana Kanda. Upasana or Upasaka means worship. Krishna Upasak means worshipping Krishna. Upasana Kanda means the portion of Vedas where they're talking about worshipping. Worshipping means demigod worship also is actually mentioned, and the worship of the Supreme Lord also is mentioned, the Supreme Being. Now, if you go into a library and then look for some books, okay, 95% of the books actually is talking about all these things, and there's only one or two books which actually really talks about the ultimate goal of life very clearly, that there's Supreme Being, and then we are all energy. There's the energetic whom actually we are coming from. How many people can really actually go and then search those books? Practically nobody. Practically zero people actually can really understand what is mentioned in the Vedas. So mostly people actually settle for this Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda instruction, which actually says everything is one. All these things actually you are to worship gods, and then all of them are fine. Leave and let leave. All these general principles which actually spoken. Whereas if you get into the Upasana Kanda, which is actually the Upanishad, starts with all the Upanishads in Upasana Kanda, they clearly talk about this world is actually illusory or temporary. The goal of life is to actually understand that I don't belong to this place, and whatever activity I'm doing here actually has absolutely no standing in the eternal life. It's just for the next life alone. Otherwise, it doesn't actually have much. I mean, if I'm going to actually grow a tree right now, okay, you'll get some karma for that. That's it, and it goes on. There's no limit to this. So don't focus on any of these so-called philanthropic activities in this world. That's what actually they claim. But start looking towards the supreme, where you have come from, because the 3/4 of the creation is actually the spiritual world, or the energy world, or call it Brahma Jyoti, or whatever it is, and only the 1/4 is actually in the material world. So this is actually explained very clearly, and very, very, very minute details about there is actually a supreme being whose name is actually who doesn't have a name as such. God, or the supreme being doesn't have a name. The names are all actually given by the people depending on the qualities that they see actually. For example, the Vedic scripture actually claim that the supremely attractive name is actually Krishna for the supreme being, because Akarshana iti Krishna, meaning someone who can actually attract every living entity, everyone, is called Krishna. It means God has to be able to attract everyone. That's the reason actually they are given that name as Krishna. Now, Krishna attracts everything, everyone in the creation. Now, understanding about Krishna and then setting up that or establishing that loving relationship with that supreme being will take you out of this complete illusory world that we are in. So that's actually what is mentioned in the Upasana Kanda in a very, very, very slight manner. And Bhagavad Gita is part of the Upasana Kanda because it's actually Upanishad, Gita Upanishad. So it does actually talk about more information because the Supreme himself actually is talking about who he is and then where he coming from, who are we in, and our relationship, all these things. So that's why it's very easy to actually look into it. Now, most of the people, as I said earlier, would not come to this stage of Bhagavad Gita because it's like there it's clearly said that Bhagavad Gita actually, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Matta Paratram Nanyat Kinchidasi Dhananjaya Aham Sarvasya Prabhu. So many slokas which says that I am the supreme being. And somebody who actually is booking, very rarely they'll pick up that book, but if they actually pick up other books and all, so many things actually are told in the Vedas, and there's only one place actually you are talking about you are the supreme and things like that. So how do I believe all these things? But that's the reason actually it's very, very difficult for a normal condition living in entities like us to come to a conclusion what is really the truth. That is the reason we have to actually follow the previous acharyas. The previous acharyas means those who actually have seen the truth. Now the question would be, there are so many people who claim actually we know the truth and things like that. How do we actually understand who knows the truth? First question you actually have to ask master. Where are you coming from? Which lineage are you coming from? Do you have a spiritual master? If you have a spiritual master, then you are qualified to talk about the Vedic scriptures. Otherwise, you cannot actually touch that particular area at all. Just like it's a very common sense actually. If you actually go to a doctor, of course we don't check it, but then they give the MBBS degree. But you have to take the MBBS degree from some. You would have been trained by somebody else. You cannot simply actually get an MBBS degree. That means you actually have a lineage. You learned from another doctor, right? That's unfortunate thing, at least in the world. For everything we actually qualify, but only when it comes to God, all of us will speak saying that I know God. Unfortunate thing is that like we all mislead others. If you don't know something, better to say I don't know rather than actually saying something which is actually not correct. Now, if you don't actually find a spiritual master for that particular person, don't even hear. Even it may be actually very logical. You might actually say something, he or she might actually be talking about something which is very very practical, which makes a lot of sense, but still in the universal principle it doesn't make any sense, because he or she is talking from their intelligence or their speculation, from their mind, their experience, which is actually not going to take us to other part of the creation. The example given is a dog is actually very good in swimming, right? It can actually you can take a dog and put it in the pool. It will actually swim in the pool of water. But if you actually put the dog in actually the ocean, do you think actually it can actually cross over the ocean, or you can hold the tail of the dog and then cross the ocean? No, that's actually not the right advice. That's the reason the acharyas actually mentioned that don't actually take shelter of all. They actually compare really the people who are not in the sampradaya or in a disciplic section is compared basically to dogs, because the dog also wants to be a loyal helping animal, but then it doesn't have the capacity to actually help people. And this material world is considered as an ocean. It's a very very vast ocean, very very difficult to actually cross over this. Every moment every moment we may be actually hearing a lot of instructions, but still when you actually get out, you feel that I'm still in the body. Something is lost, immediately say my thing is lost. So this world we are stuck, it's very difficult to get out of it. Just knowing knowledge is not going to help us. Just like if you go to a doctor, the doctor actually checks your body and then says, okay, you have a disease like this. So just knowing that I have a disease, it doesn't mean that you're going to get cured. You have to follow the process, and that process also has to be bona fide. It has to be given by a good doctor. So that is the reason you have to follow this knowledge from bona fide sampradayas. The bona fide sampradayas, as per the Shastras, is actually the four sampradayas, which actually are the Vaishnava sampradayas, which actually are connected to Krishna in different ways. Like Lord Shiva is connected to Krishna, Lakshmi Devi is connected, Brahmaji is connected, and the Chatur Kumaras actually are connected to Krishna. So we actually have to follow one of these paths and then get trained on how to see this world from the eyes of the acharyas. Otherwise, we'll actually use our own intelligence, or we'll use the intelligence of somebody else above us, which are all actually mental speculation, because it may be true, may not be true, because it's not verified. So that's the reason we have to actually take shelter of the spiritual master who's coming in the disciplic succession, and the spiritual master would like teach us, okay, this is the way you understand the supreme being, this is the way you establish your loving relationship with the person. And by following the principles of establishing love, just like you want to love a person, you need to give some gifts, you need to actually have some conversations, you need to actually do some activity wherein that person actually is pleased with you. You can't just say I love that person but I do whatever I want to do. So that's not actually really love. So the spiritual master will teach us that. So when you do that, slowly you'll start actually getting the love for the supreme being. It's there in our heart, it's just that we have forgotten that. So when you actually establish a loving relationship, that love will carry you back to the place where you have come from. So this is actually the goal of the Vedic scriptures. However, unfortunately, this age of Kali, this particular age of existence called Kali Yuga, and this Yuga is actually meant for confusing people a lot. We easily get confused with so many. If somebody actually talks very nicely with logic, we think this person knows a lot of things. We don't really evaluate what are the person's credentials before accepting the person. Um, because if you don't do that, then you'll actually end up in the same kind of situation where we have been doing in multiple lifetimes. We keep getting into the same situation every lifetime, but hardly we take shelter of the Supreme Lord who is present as Paramatma in our heart. If we sincerely ask Krishna as Paramatma in the heart, saying that please help me, I want to get to the truth, then the Lord will actually guide you to the right source wherein you can get the information. by which we can actually progress towards the supreme. The supreme goal of life is very, very simple, is that we need to accept some spiritual master who is bona fide, who is coming in a disciplic succession, and then accept instructions from him or her and make progress towards loving the supreme being. So that's actually the what do you call, the whole process of Krishna consciousness in a nutshell. That's easily done in this age by chanting the holy names of Lord. That is actually the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. When you simply chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, slowly but steadily you will make progress. You will come to a stage wherein you will be able to understand higher truths about our existence, and then go on increasing it to a stage wherein we will enter the spiritual world just by chanting the holy name of the Lord. That's possible. However, one should understand, when you're chanting Hare Krishna, we should also cultivate the knowledge which is really required to actually strengthen our commitment, or strengthen our conviction that the Supreme exists and whatever I'm learning is actually in the right path, right? So without that, if you actually do something without faith, it will still work, but it will take time, right? So that's the reason actually we have all these programs wherein we actually get trained on many things. The easiest thing that we should do always is that we should actually have any whenever you read the books, we need to actually write down the questions, so that if you're not convinced, we need to get it clarified. I always say, give this example. It's like a car, right? Faith is like the accelerator pedal, and the brakes are basically the doubts. So if you have a car and then you actually press both the pedals, the accelerator pedal and the brakes, um, the car won't move. It just makes a noise. So, but if you remove the brakes a little bit, then the car will start moving. Similarly, putting faith in the Lord, understanding all these things is one important thing, but we should also clear our doubts, which is like brakes. So when you actually remove your leg from the brakes, then you will feel movement towards the Lord. So that will happen. If you're not feeling movement towards the Lord, that means if your faith is not getting increased, if you feel that the Lord is not actually helping you in your life, that means you actually have a lot of doubt which needs to be clarified. So of course you need to put faith in the Lord and also actually clear your doubts. Um, yes, Prabhu, that's what actually I want to give a very small overview, and I'm open for questions. Anybody has any questions on this process so far? Anything that you want to actually add? Please feel free to add, Prabhu. You are Pransiki Mataji. Anybody else wants to add anything?
Uh, no, bro. I mean, we don't want to add anything.
Okay.
Thanks for the no comment. Yeah, so we can open for questions actually. So maybe
Can you moderate it, Prabhu? Can you moderate? Because how do you want to actually take it?
yes, bro. I can do that actually. So
Okay.
so devotees, I don't know. Here it is possible to raise hand. I don't know. So maybe devotees can chat if they have questions in the chat box, right? So no, then we can take up one by one. No, otherwise they can directly ask. Actually, there's no problem. But if they are feeling something is coming and they want to note down, they can put it in the chat. Otherwise, we can ask directly. Okay, Prabhuji. So yeah, so we can, so we actually in the last Bhakti Vish, like
Hmm.
Aruna Mataji had some questions.
Okay.
So that is also one of the reasons that I thought no, it'll be good that no, I think many other devotees may have also questions, similar
Hmm.
questions. So sometimes all devotees may not be, like they may not be very what you call comfortable asking all the questions sometimes, right?
Hmm.
To have an exclusive session, I think I thought it'll be more beneficial for
Sure.
all the devotees. Yes.
Sure.
So yeah. So Aruna Mataji, I think you can go with your question, Aruna Mataji.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you,
Yes,
Prabhuji. Hare
yes,
Krishna,
Mataji.
and
Hare
thank
Krishna.
you for coming. In fact, I have, to be honest, no questions as such, because
Okay.
I
Hmm.
feel, and with my limited knowledge, of course,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
understand, you've been much more experienced, than I am. But, I'm just going to put my humble and, honest front of me
Okay.
forward.
Hmm.
The way I understand, Supreme Self is that, the way I have approached him is, without questions, much, to be
Hmm.
honest, and that is how I have come, through many years.
Hmm.
And I feel that, the truth is singular,
Hmm. Hmm.
and that, there are many paths, that lead to that truth.
Hmm.
And those paths may not be seemingly intersecting, initially at least. They
Hmm.
may appear, to be quite distinct, to begin with, but
Hmm.
that the ultimate destination is single and singular.
mm,
And to, then say that, we are all, to say that, our path is the best somehow
mm,
seems dogmatic to me.
mm,
And to my to my at least, limited senses, it seems
mm,
like closing the doors
mm,
where, it's not needed. It's all same. You experience that, and there is a beauty in that. You
mm,
experience this, there is a beauty in this.
mm.
So your ability to understand the supreme is more when you
Mm.
open the doors. You
Okay.
may enjoy, you may see the sight of supreme in an entirely different way, which you would not have seen if you have closed that door.
Mm,
So I feel that, the more we open the doors to our mind, to the possibilities of seeing the supreme,
mm.
we really truly go more near to him. So that
Okay.
is why, I feel that, any kind of dogmatism is
Mm,
applicable to religion, but,
mm,
it cannot be applicable to spirituality.
mm,
So that is why I always would like, to keep my freedom of enjoying the supreme or knowing the supreme, not enjoying, but
mm,
enjoying in the sense enjoying the knowledge of supreme, but
mm,
understanding the supreme, to be
mm,
kept really open,
mm,
and for all the possibilities, for all the
mm,
possibilities. It doesn't have to be restricted to just Hinduism or any religion. In fact, as I said, religion has no place in spirituality. It's only that it's a beginning step, and many may not be turned towards spirituality by nature,
mm,
and they might just be kind of propelled towards that, when they get into religion of some kind, and and doing some karma kandas and all, they might begin to develop some sattvic manas, through which again,
yeah.
they are propelled more. So that is
Mm,
how, I see it. And
yes.
that is why, I keep myself, kind of, unless, as I said, say if there is experience, higher experience of some kind which says. And there are few
Mm,
reasons, if one has to really tease out and tell me a reason why you are not in accepting Krishna. I'm not saying that Krishna is not, it's very
mm,
much possible. And our own Bhagavad Gita says, and it
mm,
was told by Krishna. And I'm yet to read entirety of Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm still in the first canto,
mm,
and finished, maybe a little more than half. And
mm,
there's so much of knowledge in that, and I'm very sure by the time, I read all the cantos, I may have a
mm,
very different perspective. I may have climbed a few steps, more, and understood, the essence a little bit more as well. And maybe, my thoughts would be very different, at that point. But
mm,
currently where I stand, my sense, tells me this, that. And there are questions, that come up to my mind. For
mm,
example, with regards to guru as well,
mm,
there's so many wonderful gurus, all around,
mm,
in Hinduism and beyond
mm,
as well.
mm,
And sometimes it's just our instinct and intuition that we know
mm,
that the other person who is saying, he's
mm,
not bluffing. It's
mm,
coming straight from his heart. We
mm,
can because truth is, as I said, very single, and it
mm,
touches heart, or it pierces the heart when we hear it.
mm,
So such kind of masters, I believe, are there everywhere, not just in India. They are there. They were born. They're going to be born everywhere. So
mm,
to contain ourselves, in terms of guru as well, I feel, it will be a dosha to see only one person as a guru, and
mm,
others not. I feel
yeah.
that, also I connect to the sentence or the wisdom that,
Mm,
our elders have told us in
mhm,
Hinduism, that when
mm,
the student is ready,
mm,
a guru will appear. And this has
yeah.
been experience of many as well, for
Mm,
those who go to Himalayas,
mm,
and those who have done penance there, and who are doing
mm,
even now.
mm,
They have not gone there, seeking a particular master, but a master had appeared to them, and
correct.
given guidance to them, and they have silently achieved, what they have to achieve, and silently doing their work. Because we are born in India, we are aware to these facts, that these are
Mm,
possibilities, that there are silent Himalayan yogis, who
yep.
have had, uh, who have attained, what perhaps is very unthinkable, for a person like me. But they have not gone there under the protection of a guru, but rather they were drawn into it, and then directed towards, what is best for them, how to achieve
Yes.
that, and so on and so forth. So I truly believe that sometimes when we may not have a guru, or
Mm,
our heart is not clinging upon one as a guru,
mm,
then the only thing we can do is to continue in our faith that God
mm,
will show us the way, and
yep.
continue doing whatever is possible, be it in bhakti line, be it in karma, trying to find bhakti in karma, or karma in bhakti. Either way,
Mm,
you go on doing that with a prayer in your heart that,
mm,
send me, and also,
mm,
the fact that a tendencies differ is also coming from perhaps our past karmas as well, not just
mm,
from this janma, but janmas that we have not seen. So our attraction towards supreme, or the
mm,
path that we take towards supreme, be
mm,
it the karma form, be it bhakti form, and again in bhakti, which kind of saguna bhakti, nirguna bhakti, or whichever form, I think
mm,
is also greatly influenced from our past life, things which we are not having a connection to, but we can sense, because we
mm,
already are attracted towards it more than something else. Perhaps there
mm.
is a tendency towards that which has slipped in from
Yeah.
nature, from our previous lives perhaps. So I don't know. So that is why I feel that each one of us is uniquely different and
Mm,
will need a unique way of getting to that ultimate. And I'm sure God, being so benevolent, if God is loving, all loving,
mm.
he is not going to see which path we have taken to reach him. He just needs our sincere prayers, and he's
Yeah.
going to show us the path from the point that we are, rather than saying, if you only climb up to this bus,
Mm,
I'm going to be available to you. I would
mm.
feel that God is much more open, and he's only waiting for our sincere prayers. When we
Yeah.
are opening ourselves up, to him and asking for help, I think
Mm,
he's going to appear and make sure, that we find the right, kind of situation or knowledge. And then, so that is my thing, Prabhuji. And um, so that's one of the things that I wanted to share with you, that I didn't want particularly myself
mm,
to be contained in that aspect. Although, as I said, everything is beautiful when I read Srila
mm,
Prabhuji's books. And as well as, I should not deny that so far, whatever masters, great masters I have heard or
mm,
listened to or read, really,
mm,
they all seem to me same, and they're all endorsing the same. But I
mm,
should agree that so far, until
mm,
I joined ISKCON last year, or
mm,
Prabhuji's discourses last year,
mm,
I was still, as I said, finding jnana form of,
mm,
the knowledge, or what, I don't know what's it called. Technical
mm,
word is, jnana yoga.
mm.
Uh,
Yes.
and I was under the influence of
Mm,
thought that, as I said, religion, or
mm,
doing bhakti, because as a child I worshipped idols very
mm,
promptly. I did that even without my parents having to tell me. I used to engage myself in chanting mantras, and
mm,
and doing that very religiously, even without any of them saying to me anything, or neither did they do. But I
mm.
used to do it very, very methodically. And then
Okay.
in somewhere in MBBS, I changed, and I thought, it is just to discipline our mind, and that there
Mm,
is, the truth is slightly different from that. It is that, but it is beyond that. And
mm,
that I should get over this form, and try
mm,
to understand the other form. So that was the thought process.
mm,
And then when I entered, and that continued quite
mm,
up until the uh, until last year.
mm,
Because when Prabhuji said, you have to do the japa, which I
mm,
started, this otherwise I was not doing. I thought japa is just another form of meditation itself, because you're concentrating your mind,
mm,
and that we can achieve even by something which we are very passionate about, being engaged in a hobby, or
mm,
dhyana, or
mm,
meditation, anything really, whichever that concentrates mind on one place is meditation.
mm,
So I thought japa is just another form of meditation itself, that it
mm,
just disciplines your mind. And even
mm,
for that matter, even bhakti also disciplines, or rather the idol worship also disciplines the mind. And therefore it is a way of sharpening our mind to
mm,
understand the brahma satya. This is what I was thinking. But when
mm,
I did the japa, I
mm,
should really agree that I still continue to do that. That
mm,
there is a certain other stillness that came to me, which I described to you last time also, when Prabhuji invited to share our experiences with what has changed since we joined the ISKCON,
mm, mm.
uh, or the teachings. So
Yeah.
this is what I sincerely told him, that I see a certain shift. Definitely
Mm,
there is more stillness. There's something which is very difficult to explain,
mm,
and I feel more nearer to God. That is also definitely yes. I
mm,
don't, and I see that where the upasana or bhakti
mm,
is weighed more higher, or rather,
mm,
what should I say, higher kintanu, it is
mm.
it is more easier way of connecting to the supreme. So
Supreme.
I do
Okay.
agree with that.
Okay.
However, my only
Mm,
only reservation would be that
mm,
as of now, to keep doors and windows open, really, and to keep the possibilities open, and not really seeking out possibilities, but just to keep myself, not being very dogmatic, in saying
mm,
this is the only way, or that the when we follow only the Chaitanya's
mm,
Shris, or only
mm,
one lineage,
mm,
we experience moksha. That sentence perhaps is still not appealing to me. I
mm,
feel that it is possible there are people other than that lineage who have also attained,
mm.
and not being dogmatic, about that. That's the only thing which, kind of, but that is a very small thing, I would probably, and that might be very much truth. And as I said, with passing time, with
Mm,
experiences, people may have very different opinions, and I myself, may have a very different viewpoint. But as of
mm.
now, where I stand, these are some of the things that as of now I'm not uh, taking as something, where my heart rhythms with it. So
Yes, Mataji. Thank you so much, Aruna Mataji. This is very good actually, because see, when you introspect on your own, you start thinking about what's happening to me, and then by doing this, we connect a lot of things, a lot of dots actually we connect and come up with our own realization. This is good, definitely. Keep on going like that. So the truth, as you said, it's just one, right? There may be multiple paths, but we should know what the truth is. If you know the truth, then you actually can take the right path easily. For example, I want to go to America. I can actually go via France. I can go via UK. I can go via what do you call the East Coast or West Coast, probably like Singapore. I can go that, but going to America is actually the goal. That you have to understand. If you don't even know that actually going to America actually is the goal, then you will think all paths lead to Rome, which is actually a wrong thing. It doesn't. At the same time, it takes a long time. For example, if you have to climb the stairs and I'm supposed to go to the 80th floor, if that is a goal, if you know that, then I would probably actually take the elevator and go. Why would I actually go into each step if there's availability of elevator? That's exactly what Lord Chaitanya is actually trying to do, because our time is extremely short. The time duration that we have in our life is very short, and practically not many people actually really know the truth. And as I said, as you actually rightly mentioned, people go to the Himalayas looking for a guru, or not specifically to any person. They just want to depend on the Lord and then try to meditate. And the Lord does send a guru so that they can get trained on. But imagine if the Lord decides that He wants to actually send people and then bring on people to the right path, then we cannot stop, right? If you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, you'll start actually understanding that Vyasadeva wrote all the Bhagavatam just to make sure that everyone gets a guru, because people are not interested in guru in this age, and to get a bona fide guru is very difficult, right? So keep your mindset open. I'm not actually saying, I don't think actually I would expect you to actually be focused only on this path. Keep hearing, it's fine, no problem, but keep chanting Hare Krishna and then write on your doubts and things like that, because beyond a limit you will have to actually commit to one particular process. Because beginning, it's very easy. Beginning is actually, you can take any path. Every path will actually give you some satisfaction for sure. But beyond a limit, you don't have access to the spiritual world at all. Because anybody who doesn't have a spiritual master, Krishna does not, multiple times actually is mentioned in the Shastras too, he does not directly appear to anybody who doesn't have a spiritual master. So they are just concocting, saying that I have seen the truth. That truth could be their own concoction. So, but they can speak a lot of things. You will also feel like, okay, it makes a lot of sense, but that alone is not sufficient. That is why you have Paramatma in your heart. You can always actually pray to him, saying that please guide me to the right path, and keep moving on. As you progress, as you start learning more and more new things, then you'll start understanding, okay, so a particular path I need to stick on for sure. Because if I don't stick on with the path, nobody is going to endorse me the way back to Godhead. Because each one, as you said, has a different path, and everyone claims that this path actually will take you to the truth. Even we also claim like that, right? We means our spiritual master also claim like that. How do we verify it? It's very difficult for us to really verify it. Neither that path actually you can verify, nor this path you can verify. So somewhere actually we have to draw a line and depend on how much somebody is actually dedicated to the Lord. How much are they talking about the Supreme Being more? How much are they actually spending time with the Supreme? That actually will help us to understand how much they love. Then you will actually be able to follow the path. That is why you need to actually have a spiritual master. If you have a spiritual master from the beginning, you are the most luckiest you can ever think of. And that too, if you have a bona fide spiritual master from the beginning of your process. But unfortunately, it's not easy because we have 99 cheaters and maybe 1% is still genuine. Um, most of them do this for a living. As you said, there are genuine people sitting in Himalayas who don't want to guide anybody, but they're just self-satisfied, and then they just want to serve the Lord, meditate on the Lord, and go ahead. They are wonderful personalities, but then they are not concerned about others. They are not really bothered about how do I actually deliver the rest of the world. Lord Chaitanya's movement is all about how do I deliver the whole world. Lord Chaitanya himself is Krishna, is the supreme being himself. If you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll start getting more what do you call conviction on that. But you have just started it. Continue with this. You are in the right path. Keep going. Keep learning. Don't close doors on anything, saying that I don't want to hear this, I don't want to hear that. That's perfectly fine. But come back to the super soul. Is there in your heart. Keep having faith that super soul will guide you. Slowly, actually, you'll come to the right path. That's what I would say. Good. Thanks for sharing that that feedback, Mataji. Yes. Keep attending these programs. You'll start learning more and more. End of the day, we are all actually completely free to do whatever we want to do. In fact, Krishna, after explaining the whole Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, he said, "Ette chitita kuru." You do whatever you want to do. I'm not going to force you. Supreme Being will not force us. But Krishna also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. After many, many births and deaths, everyone will surrender unto me. Of this, there is no doubt, he says. So if that is the goal, why don't we do it this lifetime? Why don't we understand more of this and then find out, is it really true? Why should I wait for 100 lifetimes, finding out everything, whatever others are telling? Why? Why should we do that? Because if this is the truth, if you prove one shloka in the Vedic scriptures wrong, we can actually completely say that the Vedic scriptures are wrong. No shloka in the Vedic scriptures are wrong. Any part of the Vedas you take, either the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Puranas, everything is actually correct. There's nothing which is incorrect there. So if this shloka also is mentioned, and this is vetted or verified or authorized by Ganeshji, who wrote the Mahabharata, that means there's stuff there. We have to understand. That means if Krishna is telling everyone must actually surrender to me at one point in time, Abhunama Janmanamante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. He says such a soul is very rare who surrenders unto him. Why don't we actually give it a try in this lifetime? We have little time. We don't have too much time. Maybe about 30, 40 years we might have. Why don't we give it a shot? And why don't we actually really spend some time to figure out what is this actually they are talking about? And then after that, we have the free will, because I don't think the Supreme Lord would ever force holding a gun in your temple saying that surrender, otherwise you will not get your food. Even the atheist people who don't claim that God is there or not, they also eat, they get food. So, as you said, God is all loving for sure. So you learn more and more as you go along. But be on this path. That's good. Very good. Thanks for sharing, Aruna Mataji. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
No problem. Yes, Prabhu. Anybody else has a question?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Chetan,
Yes, Prabhuji. So, means what is the difference between ego and false ego? In slokas, we hear that hankara, but in the translation, the Prabhupada says it is a false ego.
What's
So, this literally the hankara is ego. So, Prabhupada is translating as false ego. So, what is that difference between ego and false ego, and why the Prabhupada is translating as hankara as false ego? Yes, Prabhupada.
Okay. Ahankar really means ahamkar. Aham means myself or I as an identity, right? Identity of the person. That's called actually the ahankar. And unfortunately, for most of the Sanskrit words, the English meaning is little hazy. You won't get a direct translation of Sanskrit word. Sanskrit means culture. Sanskriti means really culture. And in English, you don't have many words which can really translate it to the right thing. Ego, sometimes, most of the time, we use ego for not identity. What do we use ego for? So we say like that fellow is very egoistic. What does it really mean? We say this fellow is proud or something else. We connect it with something else, not the identity. We never connect ego with identity. But actually speaking, ahankar really means identity of the person. Now, in the material world where we all live, all of us are thinking that I am so and so, such and such, and things like that. None of us actually know what is our real identity. That is why Prabhupada converts or translates it as false ego. Ahankar means false ego in the material world. All of us actually are, everyone in the material world actually has false ego for sure. Because the real ego, as per Lord Chaitanya's explanation, as per the explanation by Vasudev, we don't have any other acharyas who actually have really, if you take the other sampradayas and like other sampradayas in the sense other spiritualists or religionists, you say Jesus Christ or Muhammad Prophet or all these personalities, they don't actually really have such very in-depth explanation about reality. They actually talk about what is really good, what should you actually, how do you actually live in this world, live live happily, serve the rest, and things like that. These are all more or less like moral science. There is absolutely for example, Allahu Akbar, they say, right? Allah means actually Allahu Akbar really means the Supreme is great. Now, how great he is, they don't explain. But we have Brahma Samhita and other places where what is the position of the Supreme Being, how much power he has, what glory he has, how many consorts he has, what is his address, where does he actually live, what does he eat, who does he play with. All these things actually explained in our Vedic scriptures. So Vedic scriptures definitely is far way out. If you actually think that the more you know about Vedic scriptures, you will start understanding the other religions, whatever they are following. They may be having a lot of good saints and all, but they don't come anywhere, not even 5% of what is there actually in the Vedic followers. It's just that because of our ignorance, we think that actually everyone is same. They are not the same. There's a lot of difference which is there. Now, the real ego is basically Gopi Bharata Father Kamalyor, Dasa, 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 and Dasa. This is actually the explanation given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, saying that all of us, all the living entities are Gopi Bharata. Gopi Bharata means the owner of the gopis, that is Krishna's servant. They are actually the servants of the Supreme Being. We are all actually, Prabhu, can you mute the person? Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. I just start I lost my thoughts. What was I talking, bro? Yes, so all the living entities actually are servants of the servant, and that is really the real ego. When you say ego, we are all servants of the Supreme Being. When you say servants of the Supreme Being, no questions asked. One must just simply serve the Supreme Being. Now, what do we do today? We actually question, if the Supreme Being is there, why is the Supreme Being not in front of me? Why should I follow this person? Why should I follow that person? So we ask so many questions. That means we are in a conditioned state wherein we are thinking that I'm such and such a person, which is not the real identity. That is why Prabhupada translates ego as false ego here. Does it help you, Chetan Prabhu? Chetan Prabhu was asked, Ranchar Prabhu, was he the one?
Yeah. Yes, Chetan
Yeah.
Prabhu was asked.
Does it help, Prabhu? That's why actually it's mentioned as false ego. False ego really means that you are actually in an illusory understanding that I am so and so, which is not the correct definition.
Yes,
Yeah.
Prabhu.
Yeah, that's the reason. Whenever you read, so when you actually come to the platform of saying that I am the servant of the Lord, everything actually falls in its place. We will start understanding it in the right manner. But if you don't actually put that perspective, then there's always thinking about, I have a lot of time in this life, I have a lot of time in the world. The Supreme, we don't even know the Supreme properly, right? And the Supreme Being himself is coming and telling you, I am the Supreme. This is what it is. You want to come quickly, come quickly. Otherwise, take your own sweet time, take hundreds and millions of lifetimes, but you will definitely come back to me for sure. No doubt about it. But that going back will depend on you. He doesn't force. As long as we are here, unfortunately, the problem that we have is right now we have good health, good situation, everything. But what is the guarantee after this life we're going to get the same thing? We may not. We might get some other lifetime, and that lifetime can be one of the 84 lakh species of life. We are sitting and then we are in this Skype. Rancho Prabhu has kindly actually got all of us together. What if you actually are born as a snake or a lizard in some remote village in some of Africa or somewhere? We won't have any idea of what we are actually talking about. Now, we have the opportunity. We should use whatever time we have quickly. If we have exposure to many other philosophies and things like that, that means already we are philosophically inclined, very well and good. We can compare everything and come to the right conclusion. You put that effort, you'll get. But if somebody actually has no thing and have no interest in doing it, doing anything of any of these things, then better put your what you call interest in one path and let's continue with this, because you don't have anyways, you don't have any time to do anything else. So somewhere you have to put the faith. And we see that all the previous acharyas, we hear about their commitment to the absolute truth. It's really amazing, really amazing. That is why actually it's mentioned. How do you find a guru? What is the definition of guru, Prabhu? You, Rancha Prabhu, help me. Remember that the shloka which actually talks about Brahmanishtam.
Brahmanishtam to Anandam, right? So I don't
No.
remember the big.
Tad Vijnanartham Sagurum Evagastet Stotram Brahmanishta.
Yes.
Stamit Pani
Tad
Stotram.
Tony. What does it say? This is actually given in the Vedas. He says, Tad Vignartham. Tad Vignartham. Vignartham means, Vigna really means, Artham really means meaning or sense or whatever it is. Vignartham means scientific meaning or realized knowledge. Tad Vignartham, if you want to know the supremes, Tad, that supreme beings realization, Tad Vignartham Sagurum, you need a guru. But how do you identify the guru? Evabi Gachet Brahmanishtam, someone is actually fixed in the knowledge of the supreme being, completely fixed, and they don't say one day this and tomorrow something else, fully again connecting back everything to the supreme being. So such a person, and then they also behave like that. They don't actually see that. I mean, people have this kind of what do you call wrong notion that Jana Seve, Janardana Seve, Manava Seve, Madhava Seve, these are all completely bogus. It's not actually recommended in the Shastras at all. It's not recommended anyway.
Brahmanishta.
Yes. Stotram Brahman. Yeah, that means he's actually fixed in the Brahman realization, such a person. So, but what do people do? Many of them actually open hospitals and things like that, but this is not what Krishna is telling in Bhagavad Gita. He's telling surrender unto me. What is he telling Arjuna? Did Arjuna go up and open up all hospitals or something? You fought for Krishna. So he did everything for the Lord. So that actually should be the goal of life. Then you will actually come to the conclusion. If you actually take up something else, then actually you are not coming to the goal. That's the whole thing. So when you have to understand this goal, it's easy then. Yeah. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. So devotees, so other questions? Anybody has any other questions? No, you can be free to ask.
Prabhuji, I have a question, Prabhuji.
Actually, who is this Mataji?
This is Sandhya Mataji.
Yeah,
yes,
Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Actually, you said just now, Manav Seva, Madhav Seva, these are all trash. But we are having prasadam distribution and even Akshay Patra and so many helping way also we are having in ISKCON. Then when we think about the other person, in that sense, I have a query here, Prabhuji. I didn't understand clearly.
Very good point.
We don't think about the other person, then how it we are having that service and all, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Even education, giving education, Akshay Patra, or might be even in our association also. If one is not well, how much we all take care about them. These are all also comes under service only, Manava Seva only.
Yes.
Then how to go about this, Prabhuji?
Very good question, Mataji, Sandhya Mataji. Thanks for asking this question. So we should understand everything. I know, like if you attended last week's program, Rancha Prabhu quoted one shloka. He spoke about how Lord Shiva and Parvati are discussing this, and Lord Shiva actually mentions Aradhanam Sarvesham Vishnur Aradhanam Param Tasmat Paratram Devi Tadiyanam Samarchanam, he said. What does it really mean? It says Aradhanam Sarvesham, worshipping of all worship Devi Parvati. Vishnu worship is the greatest. Okay. But better than that is that someone who is associated with the Vishnu, worshipping such a person is top class, better than even worshipping Vishnu. Tadhyana means someone who is connected to Vishnu. So that means Lord Shiva, worshipping Lord Shiva as a devotee of Vishnu, Vaishnava Meta Shambhu is top class. But worshipping Lord Shiva is independently actually is not recommended, because then you will actually go into a wrong direction. Now understand this. Now we don't actually distribute prasadam or food, normal food. This is actually food offered to the Lord, and then the person who's actually offering, this is the reality. It has to be done like this. But if people don't do like that, that's actually a wrong understanding that they have. The food that is cooked and then offered to the Lord, the person who's offering should actually pray to the Lord saying that I'm going to distribute this food to everyone. So please, whoever eats this food, please bring them actually to your shelter. That is actually prasadam distribution. It is not food distribution. Ordinary food distribution will bring you karma, because it's actually an activity which is in the mode of material nature. Prasadam is actually transcendental. It is actually the what do you call, blessings of the Lord. Prasad means blessings or mercy. Now the same thing, if the devotees actually are unwell, you understand they're all connected to the spiritual master, they're all connected to Krishna, they're all actually trying to progress in spiritual life. Now it's your duty, because they are connected to the Lord in that way, we have a relationship with them, we have a relationship to help them get back to their normal. We should not actually spend time with some roadside beggar and then try to actually clean him up and then do things like that, because if you do that, he'll go and do some sinful activity, you get karma for it. That is all taken care by the Maya, material nature. We have to understand this thing from the Shastric perspective, not on our own speculative knowledge. Because most of us actually, because I know something, I will do like this. Fine. But the Lord doesn't actually endorse that. The Lord will always see that, okay, are you following my followers? Basically, the spiritual masters coming in the lineage, they will tell, okay, do this. And if you do that, then that's accepted. Just like Arjuna did not want to fight, because he said, if I fight and kill these people, then I'll get karma for it. And the future generation actually will blame that Arjuna actually killed my grandfather. That is why I'm on the road now. But Krishna convinced him, saying that you fight for me. I will take care of everything. Whatever has to be done, it's on me. Krishna doesn't get any karma for it, because he's the supreme. He doesn't actually, he is the creator of karma. He doesn't get any karma there. So Arjuna fought. If you see here, we should actually fight or do our activity for the supreme being. If you don't even know the supreme being, how will you actually follow all these things? That the very first step is to understand who the supreme, who are we, that relationship. Then every other activity we can do. So by serving prasadam to others or taking care of devotees, educating devotees for that matter in the science of Krishna and general being, you don't need to know how do I ride a horse, or how do I go and then clean up some road or something. Those are all natural stuff people learn. But giving them the knowledge that there is a supreme being, you actually are related to the supreme being, and this life is given as an opportunity for you to establish that. That is why what the Shankaracharya says, Punarapi Janamam, Punarapi Maranam. So if you read the Bhajagovindam, he says that don't waste this time, because it's not going to actually help you. If you actually waste your time in learning all this grammar and things like that, it's not going to help you at the time of death. So understand the supreme truth and serve him. So whatever we are doing, the Akshay Patra or the food for life or the prasadam distribution, it is actually prasadam. Okay, so when you actually give prasadam, that means the food which is actually sanctified by offering to the Lord will change the person's consciousness. The person who's going to accept that food, you may think it's a normal food only. You may say, wow, very nice tasty laddus, but it actually has an effect on the long run. Their mindset, their karma will actually get burnt, and someday they'll be able to understand what we are talking. Otherwise, it's very, very difficult. If you are distributing ordinary food, that's not actually the right thing to actually do. Tadyanam should be there. The person who's actually whoever you're serving should be connected to the Supreme Lord. Just like if you go to a dham, like Mayapur or Vrindavan, all of them, they may look dirty, they may actually talk rubbish language, but they still are attracted to Srimati Radharani and Krishna. So you can serve them. There's nothing wrong in that, because they're still attracted. They may not be actually following the same standards like you. Still, they are Tadyanam. They are connected to the Supreme. So if you are connected to the Supreme, you serve them. That's considered as devotional service, bhakti. It's one of the Navavida bhakti lines. Does that help you, Sandhya Mataji?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's not a normal activity that we do. It has to be connected. If it's not connected, connect them and then serve. If you say, no, I have a beggar outside my house and every day I see that person, I want to help them, give them Krishna consciousness and then serve them. That's perfectly fine. But if you simply go and serve them, that fellow becomes very nice and then does some sinful activity somewhere, you get a part of karma. That's how it works. That way, better to leave them as they are. It's the government's duty to actually take care of the people in the state, not our duty. That's how the Niti Shastras talk about. That is why the president actually is in a very, very, or the head of the state is in a very, very precarious condition. Any sinful activity being done in the state, 1/6 of that karma goes to the head of the state. It's their duty to
Here
actually
I
take care.
have Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Here I have one more doubt, Prabhuji. For
Yeah.
example, some of our family members only, they were
Mm.
not connected to God like this. Normally they were living, and
Mm.
they need some help from us,
Mm.
uh, financially
Mm.
or physical, means by service or some other way, any other way.
Mm.
Whether we should do help for them or not, means it comes as a family member, maybe our elders, our
Mm.
parents, or something else. Okay,
Mm.
in that case, whether it comes under responsibility, we should care about, we should take care, or we should leave. It's not like devotional service. In these situations, I feel right a little
Mm.
confusion, Prabhuji. Means
Okay.
whether I should go about that as a responsibility. It is my responsibility. I had to take care.
Mm.
Otherwise, no, it's not coming under the service. I had to take care about my spiritual advancement like this. Means
Mm.
where I should give preference for that.
Yeah, these are very practical questions, very, very practical questions. This keeps happening, and we also in the beginning stages is very difficult. In fact, Arjuna was in this condition. He didn't know what to do. Should he actually take care of his grandparents? Should they not kill them? Should he actually take care of his brothers, the Kauravas, or listen to Krishna? Right? In that situation, Krishna was right in front of him was there. He said, "You want me to kill all of them? Only then actually you can get me." Of course, this is for Arjuna, not for us. So in our condition in life, see, there are many things which is there. I need to chant my Hare Krishna. I have my rounds to chant, but I have a child to take care. Now, which should I give preference? Right? Child is there, and if I say, child, don't for 12 hours you sit, I'm fasting, you also fast. That's not the right thing to do. So there are a few responsibilities that we have to take. Understand, our progress does not depend only on us. Our progress depends on our endeavor and Krishna's mercy. Both are required. Krishna will also see what is your behavior towards others. So now, how do you actually behave in this kind of situation? Now, at least till the 50th year of our life, which is actually supposed to be for Grihastha Ashram, we are all married, at least till the 50th year, or you actually have grown-up children, one should actually take care of the family also carefully. But after 50 years, beyond 50 years, when you have grown-up children, we really don't need to bother about others because they are grown up. They can actually take care of themselves. Unless you really you had a late marriage. I'm just giving an example. Late marriage, then you have a small kid, a 5-year-old kid at 50 years, then it's a different question. But in general, if the children are grown up, don't try to correct them. It's their life, their karma, they will take care. You should focus in spiritual life. Otherwise, we'll miss the bus. It's not easy to go back to Godhead. It's not easy to get out of the cycle of birth and death. It's very difficult. I mean, Arna Mataji mentioned, right? Many people actually go to Himalayas, forget about everything, they leave everything and go. It's not being selfish. That's the real selfish interest we should be having. But when you are in the Grihastha ashram, you have duty to perform, which actually has to be in parallel with your devotion service. And when you are doing this duty, always try to give them Krishna consciousness in whatever way. Children, give them prasadam. Once in a while, engage them in some service. If they don't do it, you are not blamed. It is their karma. It's their individual independence that they can actually have. You cannot force. Your own spouse may not become a devotee. That's perfectly fine. Krishna sees you, but you can't eternally keep sitting 80 years in the age. Also, you cannot think like, okay, my spouse is not become a devotee. Don't bother. Just leave and keep going, because you have to go back to God. At the end of the day, we are not related to anybody else. We are absolutely not related to anybody else. We are related only to Krishna. We are related to others because everyone is related to Krishna in that sense. So in your condition, if somebody is actually sick, some one of your relatives, maybe your brother or sister-in-law, brother-in-law, some family actually is sick, they need some assistance or money. There's no harm in actually taking care of them, giving them. But if they are extremely actually very angry, and then they are inimical towards the supreme, they are kind of dirty kind of people and things like that, better to cut them off. That kind of relationship is not going to take us on the long run anywhere. Anyway, they're not going to listen to you. So there's no point in proving them actually I've become a devotee, so I'm a well-wisher of the whole creation. Don't be like that. But if it's an immediate family, yes, we have to help them. We can't ignore, because by ignoring that, people start thinking in a different way. There are two ways to preach the glories of the Lord. One, by chanting the holy name, and then the way we are discussing. This is also one way of preaching. The other way is to actually be an example to others. When you are becoming a devotee, you have to become exemplary. Oh, okay, this person is so wonderful. I want to be his friend. So that also is important. Both are important. But specific thing, you should actually consult a senior Vaishnava on a one-on-one basis, saying, in this situation, what should I do? My so-and-so is actually in this kind of trouble, what should I do? That is why we need to actually have a mentor who can actually help us. For most of us, on the Matajis and all, Pransiki Matajis, there you can always take her guidance. She can guide you what needs to be done specifically for that particular instance. But in general, duty is very important. You cannot ignore it. Yeah, does that help, Mataji?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank
Yeah,
you.
but always, whatever you do, keep the Lord informed. You can always go in front of Jagannath and say, I'm trying to do this, my Lord. If you think this is actually okay, please let this happen. I want to please you. Our focus is all to please the Supreme Lord always. If you please the Supreme Lord, nothing like that. Everything is actually taken care of devotion service. I remember Srila Prabhupada actually telling one of the devotees, he actually thanked the devotee's mom, who was actually in the Western world, I think Brahmananda Swami. So he told his mom, whatever you have done to bring this child up to Krishna consciousness, he's become a sannyasi right now. All the activities you have done to take care of him has become devotion service, because he's become, the product is now a devotee of the Lord. So whatever activity you did in your life to bring him up is all considered as devotion service, bhakti. The Lord will actually take it like that. So that way, it's all, if you actually keep informing the Lord and then trying to make everyone devotees in your way. Not everyone is empowered. So whatever way you can really try to do it, keep trying to doing that. So you'll make progress like that. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Krishna devotees, so we can keep asking questions. It's an opportunity that we don't get always. Kripamaya is with us to answer our questions from the Shastric perspective. Anybody who else want to go next?
Yeah, the questions are all.
Probably,
Yes, Prabhu.
I have a small follow-up question. Like to Aruna Mataji had asked the questions, right? So
Mhm.
in that one aspect, she mentioned is about kind of like this is the only right path, right? So like is it kind of a dogma kind of thing? So that part, like how do we really understand actually? So
Okay.
you mentioned like the four Vaishnava Sampradayas are bona fide paramparas. But how do we? Is there some way to check, for example, like whether it's the right path, and how do we understand it from a little from scripture's perspective?
Okay. So always, I mean, for that matter, always two things are required, Prabhu. If you want to actually know the truth, there are two things. One is your time, right? That's one thing. And then your dedication to understand the truth. That's definitely required. If you don't dedicate your time, then there's no way actually you can understand all these things. The second thing that you can really do is there's actually the check and balance system that the Guru Sadhu Shastra is there always. Um, but again, if you spend time on the Shastras, you have so much of time to do it, then you can actually understand it. Otherwise, there's no actually a simple process saying that my way is the right way, right? The Lord actually gives a very simple example. This question was actually asked to Prabhupada also, and Prabhupada did mention saying that the proof of the pudding is in its eating. You dedicate and see for 1 month, actually do whatever I'm asking you to do. After that, if you feel like you don't want to be there, don't be there. It's perfectly fine. But we understand that because Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself and then the path. Otherwise, you understand, I mean, if Western world, we all know who Krishna is. At least our forefathers, our grandparents, our parents actually have very painstakingly explained to us at least a little bit. We will celebrate Janmashtami, we celebrate Ganesha Puja and all these things. We know a little bit of these concepts. What about the Westerners? Actually, if you see the number of devotee Westerners who are there in the movement are more than who Indians actually. Um, how did they actually get an understanding all these things? How did they actually appreciate all these things? That means there is some truth to this, because Krishna actually mentions this in the Bhagavad Gita. He says in the 71 sloka of the 18th chapter, you can actually take a look at it. It's very nice. He says, I declare those who actually read these conversations between me and Arjuna, basically Krishna and Arjuna's conversation, as it is, if they read it as it is, they will start worshipping the Supreme Lord by their intelligence. That's actually mentioned there in the 71st sloka. It's very interesting. That's actually the acid test. You can take that as acid test. There are various ways we can actually understand. Knowledge you can get from many ways, but which is the right knowledge, which is actually the comparatively or relative knowledge, you can identify that. because every scripture, Vyasadeva has written, he's given an acid test. When you say acid test, how do you know this whatever is actually correct or not? The same thing what is mentioned in that place will actually happen to you. That's all actually is the way to actually test it out. Bhagavad Gita actually says, if somebody reads it as it is, then whatever happened to Arjuna will happen to you. Arjuna actually started fighting for Krishna. First he said he will not fight. Then he started fighting for Krishna. Same thing, you will start actually engaging in the Lord's service automatically. Whether you like it or not, you will start doing it. So that is the effect of that particular scripture. So every scripture actually has a way to understand it. And then Prabhupada mentioned proof of the pudding is in its eating. So when you start engaging in that activity, then you will start picking up, okay, how do I actually um, make progress? You are trying to say something, Prabhu? Ranchar Prabhu?
No, bro, no.
Okay. So that's how actually we understand, Prabhu. The way we actually understand whether the path is right path or wrong path is that we have Paramatma in your heart. We inform Paramatma. If you are a worshipper of Lord Shiva, you can go and tell Lord Shiva. If you are a worshipper of any demigod, you can worship the demigod. Then ask them, please guide me to the right path. I seem to have got this information. I don't know whether it's true or not. So please help me understand this particular knowledge. When you actually make that prayer, the Lord is there in your heart. So he will actually give you the conviction to understand these things. Because at the end of the day, Paramatma has to actually convince us. Without Paramatma, Krishna actually convincing us, we will not be able to understand these things. Because we are all controlled in this world. Even your mind is controlled. We are thinking we are independent. We are not independent in this world. Everything is actually controlled by the Supreme Being through the medium of the material nature. This material nature controls everything in this material world. So they will make us forced to think in a particular way. I feel hungry because I am forced to think in that way. Right? So if you actually get into that kind of understanding, nothing's actually everything is a relative truth. The absolute truth is only one, which actually has come through this means, right? That's the easiest way. If you pick up the Bhagavad Gita, you are lucky. If you don't pick up the Bhagavad Gita, you will actually go through all the places. But Krishna says you'll have to come here for sure. We don't know. See, we have to accept one person at least in our life. We do accept every moment. We accept somebody else's information. How much information you create on your own and then believe on that? We don't. Right? We depend on the newspaper or TV channels or WhatsApp or whatever. We depend on others for information. We just take it something, okay, based on my experience and things like that. Similarly, somewhere you have to put your faith on. Lord is expecting us to put the faith here and then try it out. If it works, okay, it will work for sure. But then, if you want to try it out. That's what it says. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Yeah, it all comes by timing, Prabhu. It all takes time. Time will only heal. But as long as you are in the right path, in the sense you are in the path which you are following, and keep depending on the Lord, and if you are truthful, you will actually come to the right path. Always think the basic concept which is actually given from how do you read the Vedic scripture is the Seva Vritti versus the Bhoga Vritti. We always think about enjoying this material world, enjoying everything we see. But the Supreme is telling, do not think in that way. Think about how you can serve the Supreme. That if you actually come to the stage of serving the Supreme, then everything actually will feel correct. But we are not trained to do that, right? From day one, we have been in the Bhoga Vritti, which is enjoying tendency. As long as we are in the enjoying tendency, we will never actually come to the right conclusion. Because everything you see, I want to actually get happiness. I want to chant Hare Krishna because I want happiness, right? So I don't get happiness, I won't take it. So we can go and drink somewhere, maybe we'll get some happiness. But will it stay all for all? Don't know. We will not stay. Someday we have to change our body, right? So in that sense, the outlook that we actually have is actually very different.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I think अंजू माता जी आपको कोई सवाल है आपके पास?
हरे कृष्ण प्रणाम
धन्यवाद प्रणाम माता जी. Hare Krishna.
तो हम हाँ
पूछिए पूछिए. आप कुछ वॉइस थोड़ा ब्रेक हो रहा था तो आप जाइए.
अभी सुन रहे, अभी सुनाई दे रहे?
हाँ, अभी थोड़ा बेटर. Uh-huh.
प्रभु जी हम लोग जो कृष्ण भक्ति अनुशीलन कर रहे हैं
हम्म,
तो अभी हम लोग जैसे हमारा मुंह में कृष्ण नाम सब कुछ हम कर पा रहे हैं तो
हम्म,
जैसे जैसे हमारा एज हो जाएगा बुढ़ापा आएगा तो उस समय हमारा तो मतलब अंग प्रत्यंग काम नहीं करेंगे हम हमारा शरण में भी शरण चला जाएगा तो उस समय हम नारायण का शरण कैसे लेंगे हमारा वो कृष्ण का शरण हमारा मतलब माइंड से चले जाएगा ना तो उस समय कैसे हम मृत्यु समय कृष्ण नाम करेंगे कर
ठीक है
पाएंगे
माता जी, मेरा हिंदी थोड़ा घटिया ही है, फिर भी मैं ट्राई करता हूँ। प्रभु रणचर प्रभु, करेक्ट मी इफ आई एम रॉन्ग, हर क्वेश्चन इज बेसिकली राइट नाउ आई एम एबल टू फॉलो एवरीथिंग.
Yes.
When I become old, my mind and my senses may not work properly. Then how will I remember? Because I will not be able to remember the Lord at the time of death easily, right?
Yes.
Is that the
Exactly. Yes,
question?
bro. Yes, bro. That's the question.
Ha, it's a nice thing. Yeah. So, माता जी, हम देख सकते हैं प्रभुपाद जी कैसा उसका लास्ट डेज, कैसा वो वृंदावन में क्या किया, कैसा वो भगवान का नाम शब्द ले रहा था. एक एक चीज तो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है माता जी, हम भक्त के संग से रहना है, भक्त लोग के साथ रहना है. तो इवन इफ यू आर नॉट एबल टू चैंट, आपको जब नहीं किया तो भी किसी और जब करेगा आपके लिए, तो हम वो जब को सुन सकता है ना. कुछ तो कर सकता है भक्त के साथ है तो. इसलिए हमारा लास्ट डेज हम भक्त लोगों के साथ रहना है. तो ऐसा है तो हम भगवान के पास जा सकता है. तो हम ऐसा नहीं किया तो बहुत मुश्किल है, क्योंकि हमको जप करने में बहुत मुश्किल होता है. और कोई नहीं है हमको भगवान के बारे में बोलने के लिए, हमको भी नहीं पढ़ सकता है क्योंकि हमको नहीं देख सकता है. तो इसीलिए हमारा फाइनल डेज होता है ना, आखिरी, और व्हाट फाइनल डेज प्रभु,
आखिरी समय, आखिरी दिन.
आखिरी समय, आखिरी समय का वक्त में भक्त के साथ रहना है माता जी. वो है तो आपको प्रोग्रेस कर सकता है, हमको भगवान का शब्द ले सकता है, भगवान का नाम ले सकता है. और एक और स्टोरी है, क्योंकि वो रामानुजाचार्य है ना, रामानुजाचार्य का दिन में वो वरदराज करके एक डीटी है, विग्रह है, वो कांचीपुरम में है, वो मंदिर में वो रहता है. तो रामानुजाचार्य ने एक प्रश्न तो भगवान को पूछा था, क्या है कि अभी तो मैं तो ठीक हूँ, तो आपका आपका स्मरण आराम से करता हूँ, तो मेरा मेरा आखिरी दिन में तो ऐसा नहीं होगा, बहुत मुश्किल चलेगा. उसका वक्त कैसा होगा मेरा, मैं कैसा आपको स्मरण करूंगा करके. तो भगवान ने क्या बोला, अभी तो तू तो मेरा भक्त है, तू मेरे को स्मरण कर रहे हो, तो आपका प्रयाण काल है, क्या बोलता है, आपका मरने का वक्त आया तो आपको मेरे को स्मरण नहीं किया तो मैं आपको स्मरण करूंगा करके. ये भक्ति में क्या है कि हम भगवान के पास जाने के लिए सोच रहे हैं, नहीं है, भगवान भी हमको लेने के लिए बहुत सोच रहा है, कैसा मैं आपको ले लूंगा वापस करके. वो कर्म योगा, ज्ञान योगा और पाथ बहुत होता है ना, उसमें तो भगवान हेल्प नहीं करेगा. भगवान भक्ति में सिर्फ हेल्प करेगा. इन अदर प्रोसेस में यू हैव टू एंडेवर, आप क्या क्या कष्ट करना है तो करना है, भगवान तो कुछ नहीं हेल्प करेगा. भक्ति में भगवान डायरेक्टली हेल्प करेगा. तो आपको आपको समझ में आया ना. तो हम भगवान को स्मरण करने के लिए सोच रहे हैं, भगवान भी ऐसा ही कर रहा है, भगवान भी सोच रहा है हमको. तो हम भगवान को सोचा तो भगवान हमको सोचा तो डिफरेंस क्या होता है, वही है ना.
एक सेम
या तो प्रभुपाद जी भी एक डिवोटी को बोला था, एक डिवोटी ने बोला, मैं ऐसा बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन कर रहा हूँ प्रभुपाद जी, आपका बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर रहा हूँ, मेरे को मैं मरने का वक्त ऐसा ही किया तो क्या करूंगा. मैं कह, ऐसा ही करो, मैं आपको आपका माइंड में आके मैं आपको स्मरण दूंगा, भगवान का स्मरण दूंगा मेरे को ऐसा. तो आचार्य लोग का बहुत पावरफुल है वो लोग ऐसा ही आ सकता है हमारा मन में आके हमको कृष्ण का स्मरण दे सकता है आराम से. तो हमको वो फेथ क्या बोलता है, वो फेथ होना है हमको. समझ में आया माता जी?
हाँ thank you.
ब्रह्मन. Now wait for some time, the lights will disappear. That's actually the Bhagavan, not me. I'm telling you, Brahmajyoti is first. After Brahmajyoti goes out, it dissipates. If you have to stay in that path, don't be excited. We all will go through this path. You will first actually experience the Brahman realization, then Paramatma realization. You'll see the Lord in your heart. Then only actually you will be able to see Krishna face to face. These are the stages of spiritual realization. But if you get excited that I saw the energy, actually the supreme energy and things like that, and then and go and tell everyone else, then that's it. Then you'll stay in that level of realization. Yeah, but one should actually stick on the path and get deeper into it. Then you'll actually start understanding the supreme being. Yeah. अंजू माता जी समझ में आया मेरा उदाहरण ना? इसलिए माता
हाँ
जी
प्रभु।
आप अभी कर लीजिए, अच्छा भगवान देखेगा आपको पास में लेने के लिए, क्या करना है तो वो करेगा।
Thank you. Hare
हरे कृष्ण। 6 more minutes, Prabhu. You have given me time till 6 o'clock. I am free, but then for others who...
Yes, bro. So,
Any questions?
Yeah. Any devotees, please?
Is our Shiv Kumar Prabhu here on the call? He had a question.
He was in the beginning for some time. I think he has his Bhakti Vikshana. You would have moved on.
Okay. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. No problem. No problem. He had a question to ask, so just wondering. No issues. Anybody else has
Chetan
any
Prabhu
questions?
and Sandhya Mataji, I think they're trying to ask something.
Okay.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
So, Prabhu,
Okay, Prabhu.
I happened to meet my relatives and my parents last 5 weeks, Prabhu. So, I based on our current appearance and how we are appealing to them, has been little surprised. And
They
based
are
on
surprised,
that
or you are surprised?
questions, they are surprised, Prabhu.
Okay.
So, a couple of questions probably can help me enlighten. So, first thing was like one of my Dodama, like you know that there is a karma siddhanta. That means while you are taking your birth, it's been written. I mean, in their language, they are saying it's been written by Chitragupta in their notebook that okay, this is your start date and end date. You are going to stay for this many births. I said fine. Now that you are saying that based on your previous karmas, you are going to take some kind of what you call like pains and as well as whatever is the happiness that is required based on that karmas past. You are going to continue with that. Now. Till that goes anyway, whether you do whatever you wanted to do, that will be taken care because it's already been written. You cannot change that. Now you are saying that okay, you chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and those numbers will be corrected in that book. How are you going to say that? Is the question, Prabhu.
Very, very nice, Prabhu. Thank you for asking this question. I was actually thinking for a long time like this. So actually, I had this kind of question long back. Actually, I went and researched this. I actually opened up Garuda Purana and then a few other, what do you call, Yamala Tantra and all, and then found out what is actually mentioned in the Shastra is that the amount of breath you take, right, like this, okay, that's breath, right, one breath like this, that the amount of grains you take, only these two are actually fixed. Nothing else is fixed. Nothing else is fixed. Everything else is actually, you will die. The number of the breath you take, say for example, 500,000, some number, I'm just cooking up a number, 500,000 breaths you take, after that you will die. Or this many number of grains you take, done, then your life is closed. That is what is actually written. It is not actually the time of death is actually written like that. But in general, you will actually behave like that as per your karma. So because of that, you will actually breathe exactly like that. But the more angry you become, you will actually breathe faster. Or you do activity like illicit sex or anything of that kind, you actually breathe more. If you do that, then the number of breaths is actually going to get exhausted very soon. If that happens, then you'll die faster. By chanting Hare Krishna, what really happens is you are getting into actually a stage of yoga. See, if you see the yogis, sometimes actually you would have heard, if you go to Kumbh Mela, you'll see that. I've heard this, I've not seen this, but I've seen it in a video. They say that that particular yogi was actually 400 years old. I was really shocked. He looked very thin, but the videos are there, you can see in YouTube. 400 years old, how can they actually survive 400 years? I mean, at least this age, it's very difficult. But it seems that actually the Shastras mentioned there's a process called Kumbhaka Yoga. In Kumbhaka Yoga, what happens is you don't actually breathe at all. You just you stay in such a position that where you don't take any intake of any air, neither you actually give out any air. If you stay like that, you can live permanently in this world. You don't have to die at all. But you can't do any activity, right? You have to actually sit in that particular place, because the moment you actually move your senses, you have to start breathing it again. So that is what actually is mentioned. So you should actually go and tell them the karma siddhanta really means only these two aspects, which is fixed. If you overeat grains too much, then you'll die faster. But if you take whatever is actually required for you to keep the body and soul together, then you will actually live as much as it is destined. That's how it is. If you don't eat, you fast a lot, then you don't die younger. You'll actually die later. That's how it is. Does it help, Prabhu Chaitan Prabhu? The Karma Siddhanta is actually speaking, this is what is mentioned there. It is not that people have a misunderstanding saying that Chitragupta has actually mentioned that when you die and things like that. It is actually a derived conclusion, not a direct conclusion.
I think Prabhuji also his
Yes,
question is
Prabhu.
about the reactions also. I think no, this is basically whatever
Yeah, yes,
reactions you are
Prabhu.
supposed to suffer in this life,
Yeah,
how bhakti can destroy all of them. So I mean that I think probably they don't know, right?
yeah,
That's why
It's
they
yeah.
ask.
like this, Prabhu. Basically, what they are asking was,
Mm,
in fact, I know that we need to worship God. I
mm,
understand,
not
but
not like you
I have
people.
attracted with something. No, Prabhu. I'm talking from their point of view.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it's basically, if I make a mistake, it's
Mm,
fine. Now you are telling God is always ready to welcome. So next day I'll just go and pray in temple. So
mm.
then that means the numbers are going to change. Then I'm going to get good karma then and there and rectify it for myself. If that is the case, then why are we wasting our time? We could have done it whatever we want. Is what the debate that time.
Yeah, yeah. This is called the Karma Mimamsa philosophy. Basically, Karma Mimamsa philosophy actually talks about that God is destined to actually give you whatever is actually you design. Whatever is actually destined to you. God is actually destined to give it. He cannot actually change that, because that's how it is. So do your part, do your duty. Don't bother about anything else. That's their philosophy like that. This philosophy is actually not given by Vyasadeva. It's actually given by one other what do you call philosopher like Jaimini. This is not approved by Lord Ramachandra, or even Krishna did not actually approve it. This was actually practiced even in the olden days. Now, what really happens actually for a devotee? How does actually a devotee's life changes? The experience that you go through, right? Whatever the activity that you do. For example, say I'm going on the road and I'm going to actually trip and fall down. It's because of my past karma. So there are actually a set of equations which are actually written, wherein such and such an activity happened, and that particular day I was supposed to go in a scooter, and I decided no, I'll walk and go. All these things actually is written by Chitragupta. Okay, so you actually take that. Now, when you remember the Lord, when you actually chant Hare Krishna, what really happens is you start understanding why is this punishment and all mentioned here. Why do we actually go through all this punishment? Main reason for all this punishment is that we have to rectify ourselves and come to the conclusion that I don't belong to this world. I belong to the Supreme Lord. So once I understand that I belong to the Supreme Lord, I have nothing to actually take there. I'm not in the mood of enjoying anything in this world. I am not in the mood of hating anything in this world. Whatever has to happen, let it happen. I'm least bothered about it. So when you come to that kind of stage, when you come to the stage of a pure devotee, right? You are no longer actually interested in anything like that. So what is the question of punishing someone who is actually not interested to get corrected? It's already corrected. So the Lord wipes off all these things. This kind of karma doesn't have to take place for these people, because they already have come to the truth. They already have come to the understanding that I don't belong to this world. I'm going to go to the supreme, what do you call the spiritual world, and then service to the Supreme Lord is actually my only activity in this world. What is the point in punishing such a person? That is how it actually wipes off everything. Karmani nirdahati bhakti cha kintu. What is that shloka, Prabhu? Brahma Samhita, you remember?
Induja Bhakti Bhajam.
Kintu cha bhakti bhajam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Brahmaji is saying, when you follow bhakti, this is pure bhakti, not sadhana bhakti. When you actually follow the bhakti, wherein you actually do everything selflessly for the Lord, this whatever karma which is there in the seed form, which is supposed to fructify in the future, everything is actually burnt off completely. And Chitragupta says, okay, anyways, Chitragupta is doing a thankless task to correct people so that they come to the right path. He is not actually a sadist, okay, sitting there, you didn't fall, tomorrow you'll fall, I'll see. So it's not like that kind of mentality. He wants to bring everyone to the right path of understanding who are we. If I'm the soul, then where is the soul coming from? Okay, and what is the goal of life? If the soul actually has to go to the spiritual world, what do the souls do in the spiritual world? These kind of conversation, if you already come into this, treatment of punishment is not necessary at all. That's how he actually cleans off everything. He completely actually eradicates all this thing when you actually follow serious bhakti. It's mentioned in the Shastras too. It's mentioned in the Brahma Samhita and in the Srimad Bhagavatam in many places, wherein what do you call, the karma gets completely wiped out. The karma means the bad karma, and even the good karma goes away. Probably you'll be enjoying, even that is gone. That way one should actually come to the stage of pure bhakti, because experiencing pure bhakti, you will no longer actually be in this material world at all. So that's how it is. Understand, Yamaraj, who is actually the boss of Chitragupta, is one of the Mahajanas. Is one of the greatest devotees of Krishna. So he would be more than happy to actually, what do you call, see devotees of the Lord actually doing something more. So again, we have to understand this from the Shastric perspective, and that's how it is actually mentioned in the Shastras. That's how everything, all the bad karma is actually wiped out, and even the good karma is wiped out. By doing that, you will come to the stage of yeah, I mean, mostly actually your training or your punishment is given for you to get trained on some things. But if you're already trained on, what is it giving, what a point in giving that same thing, same training? It's not required. So that the karma is actually removed like that. Yeah. Okay, Babu. Chetan Babu.
Prabhuji, I didn't ask the question, Prabhuji. It is some other.
No, it's Koti
Okay.
Prabhu. Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks,
Koti Prabhu asked.
Prabhu.
Okay.
Yeah, that helps.
Yes.
Prabhu,
Yeah.
related ISKCON movement, there was a question. Now that we are seeing, at least during the book distribution and during that time, now we were trying to make them aware who is the Supreme.
Yeah.
So the question is, Prabhu, like at least in southern part of India, across the South India, wherever we go, small to the smallest town, we rarely find any of the Krishna's temple in general. It's
Yeah.
very, very rare. Maybe so very you can count in fingers.
Correct.
But you find it like Lord Shiva temple, Ganesh temples, and all other Devi temples.
More demigods, yes.
So now that, yeah, now that you are saying you have to worship Krishna or Vishnu form, that will be automatically taken care by rest of the all the gods and goddesses.
Correct.
In that scenario, why would the practical situation not appealing towards? There is no existence of going towards any other temple. What we have right now, and now you guys are coming and telling that you have to, this is the only way that you can go back to Godhead, and is going to be in Krishna form. How is going to be inclined if we wanted to tell them that, okay, maybe we can find one ISKCON center in any of the town, which is as a bare minimum, but it is not helping them to actually come towards to understand who is Supreme, and then start worshipping how normally they do in another temple, because we don't have any facility as such until unless they get to know through some of the devotees, and then okay, there is a ISKCON center, now their path follows. But it's not like if you go to any of the place, if you get down anywhere, any place, then you find n number of demigods temples and all. People go and worship and then take care and keep moving. So because of this situation, and then if you are really telling that Krishna is a supreme, then why that situation is not occurring in my surroundings? And so how do we understand, Prabhu?
Yeah, so this is a natural question whenever you go for book distribution. People always, especially not in the city, but actually if you go out, people normally ask. There's, if you see a number of Krishna temple or Vishnu temples or Ram temples compared to other Devatas temple, the percentage is less. You have to understand it in a bigger picture, Koti Prabhu. So, you know why material world is created. The material world is considered as Durg. It's a prison. Okay, it's for correcting people. Now, the material world is also created for giving an opportunity for the conditioned souls to enjoy independent of the supreme being, enjoy independent of Vishnu or Krishna. We don't want to remember God. We want to actually be in a place where we want to actually think that I am God. Whoever is around me is supposed to be meant for serving me, for my senses, my sense gratification. So that's how it actually is created. Now, for enabling this sense gratification of my enjoyment, there are many devatas created in this world to manage this world, this material world. Vishnu or Krishna doesn't actually get involved in managing all these things because he's the supreme boss. Why would he actually really be concerned about taking care of this? It's done by Durga Devi, Lord Shiva, Ganeshji, Surya. All these personalities actually take care of, Shanishcharya. All these personalities actually really take care of managing what do you call the material world. Krishna personally doesn't actually get involved in these things. So having said that, the past people actually have set up a lot of demigods temples here and there because that at least helps people to fulfill whatever their desires are. That's why you are coming here, right? That is why Krishna actually says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan. Not everyone. After many, many births, one who is wise alone surrenders unto me. So when you actually serve the demigods very nicely, after some time, actually you'll go to the planet of demigods, and then you start understanding, oh, the demigods also actually has a boss. Then you actually go like that slowly, 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 and it take many, many lifetimes. Then come to the conclusion, oh, I'm supposed to serve the Supreme Lord, and this is actually the real Supreme Lord. That's how they actually put all this structure. That's why you'll find so many small, small temples which actually, and it's easy to worship the demigods also. When you see from a practical perspective, you take anything. There are a lot of these stories about this. There was a devotee by name Kannappa, right? Lord Shiva's devotee. He used to actually spit
The
water
Katha.
on his face, right? Remember that?
Yeah,
I
yes,
mean,
bro.
so
Yeah, yes, Prabhu.
it appears to be easy to worship the demigods, but actually speaking, worship of Krishna is far far easier. But Krishna does not allow us to do sense gratification. He will not actually allow us to be in illusion. That is why people don't want to actually worship Krishna. Imagine actually you have a nice family and things like that, and I tell you this family is actually illusory, then you will not come and talk to me only, right? Krishna is like that because he says you are in illusion anyways. This lifetime this is your spouse, this is your children. Next lifetime you'll be among the dogs, you'll be among the cats, and if you see the reality, then whatever you are doing, actually you lose all this attachment. So what our forefathers have done is they have created so much of this temporary temples and things like structures like that, so that you at least actually have some disciplinary lifestyle, but still continue in sense gratification. That is the problem actually. So how do you answer these kind of people? The best way to answer is you actually continue whatever you worship Ganeshji only, doesn't matter, but chant Hare Krishna. So when you do that, when you actually see so many people chanting Hare Krishna in a particular place, Krishna himself will actually appear there somehow in some form. They will actually have a temple built like that. You think the so-called ISKCON temple just came just like that? Because the number of devotees were there. The devotees started praying, "My Lord, I want to serve you personally. Please appear before me." Then the Lord actually manifests his plans of getting a temple done there. Till the point we actually fervently actually start calling out, "My Lord, please actually help me. I want to actually serve you." If many devotees actually praying like that, then there will be a center which will appear, and then there will be the Lord himself will come and then accept service from us. That's how it works. So just impress upon them, chant Hare Krishna, but you do whatever you're doing. You're worshipping Kali Devi, go and worship Kali Devi, worship Ganeshji, but then chant Hare Krishna. That's the only thing we actually request them. Then slowly, actually, the Lord will take care of them, bro. Our only thing is we have to guide them towards the Lord. Lord will take care of them. So we don't have to be too much worried about, okay, there's no temple and things like that. They will make progress. The Lord knows it.
Okay,
Yeah.
Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Yes. Ranchar Prabhu, 611. I'm okay, but I don't want everyone to actually be forced to stay there. Somebody wants to drop off, you tell me.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, anybody wants to drop devotees, no, they can drop, no, like because the main discussion I think is over. But anybody has questions, they can ask. I mean, they can continue. Others can leave. Actually, somebody has other assignments.
Prabhuji, I have one question, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
I think multiple people. Who is asking? Niveda Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes,
Okay,
Prabhuji.
okay, Mataji. Yeah. Please go on.
Prabhuji, like I have this I need one clarification. Like, why we call demigods the name as demigods? Because as you mentioned, like everyone are coming from Supreme Lord only. Even
Yeah.
like Lord Ganesha, Lord Shiva,
Yeah.
Durga Devi, whoever name whatever. Why is the name demigods? Because they are also by
It,
serving.
it is not dummy gods, it's demi. Demi means not fully.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Demigods really means not fully. It is half or semi gods, like that. It's called demigod. Demigod means devata. Okay. So what? Give an example like Ganeshji or by Ganeshji or Kartikeya, somebody like that. So they're all actually devatas. So now Indra, Chandra, Agni, all these personalities are all devatas. So devata really means deva. Deva really means someone who is actually a devotee of the Supreme. Okay. Now, why are we calling them as devatas, demigods? Because they are not actually fully god. You are also a demigod in one sense, but you are not fully god, right? So the demigods actually are more powerful than us for sure. They actually have far more empowerment by the Supreme. They are created to be in that particular post for managing the universe. Each one actually has particular engagement, particular empowerment, and particular authority what they want to actually do. If you are interested to take such kind of an authority or what you call post, you can also actually get that kind of post, but you need to actually get qualified for that. So that is why we actually call them as demigods, devatas. We all come from gods only, but we are not godhead, right? So but Prabhupada actually never use the word god so much. He'll either use godheads or demigod in his purpose, because gods actually are very common in this world, saying that somebody I don't care a damn is God. Okay, that is not actually the right attitude one should actually be having. If the Supreme actually is there, then it's, if we are actually servants, then it's a responsibility for us to be very alert, saying that I need to obey the Supreme Lord. Yeah, that's the reason actually Prabhupada doesn't mention gods and all. So we call devatas basically because they are not gods, but they are godly. They are empowered by God for doing some activities. So we actually call them as demigods. It is not dummy, Mataji. It's DEMI. It's not DUMMY.
Okay, Prabhuji, yeah. Because when like pronunciation wise it is dummy, means people used to get offended. Why you are calling God as dummy?
No. They're not demigods. The DEMI. Demigods really means semi-god, or a deity who actually is not as powerful as God, but then better than us, definitely.
Okay,
Yeah.
Prabhuji. Thanks.
Who else had a question, Prabhu? Ranjit Prabhu? One more. Somebody
I
else.
think
You
Chetan
actually.
Prabhu had a question. I think Chetan Prabhu.
Okay.
Probably I think I got the answer.
Okay.
Like, means like, just in, simple clarification is was like, we are in Bhagavad Gita, Lord talks about opulences. So he tells, means that he tells that I am the super soul. I am among the Rudras. I am the Shiva. So if I direct, means if I go and worship Lord Shiva or the soul, it is actually equivalent to worshipping the Lord. It was my question, probably, but I think
Okay. Yeah, so the Lord says many things. It's a good question to understand. He also mentions that Nakshatranam Aham Sashi. He says, of all the stars, I am the moon. He says, wow, I never thought actually moon is a star, I mean, from a childhood. But the Lord says actually moon is a star. Now, if you worship moon just like that, does it mean actually worshipping Krishna directly? No. But if you actually worship as moon connected to Krishna, saying that, oh, moon is actually representative of Krishna, then you'll get benefit on that. In fact, Krishna also mentioned, I'm the taste of the water. When you actually really drink the water, you get the satisfaction of drinking water when you're thirsty, right? So if you understand that that taste of water is actually Krishna, then you actually will get benefit. Why does he actually tell all these things? Because Arjuna asked, I don't see you in person here, my lord. How do you actually remember you? You actually mentioned this question, right? Okay, I don't see many deities of Krishna. Nakoti Prabhu mentioned there are not much deities of Krishna. Then how do you remember Krishna, all the looking at the world? So Krishna actually gives example about all this thing. Like, okay, if you see Kartikeya, understand that this is actually the commander in chief of the Devata army, and then this represents Krishna's power as a commander in chief. So if you actually see in that perspective, Krishna actually explains all this in the Bhagavad Gita. He gives all these various examples, saying that this is how you can see. When you see the sun, understand I'm actually the eye of the Supreme Lord. Like that, if you actually remember Krishna, that's the easiest way. And Prabhupada gives a very simple example to actually give this analogy. He tells, when you actually attach to your small child so much, and whenever you actually see the child's either socks or something, you will start remembering the child. Not that actually you will take the socks and then remember the socks so much. That's how it is. So you remember the Supreme Lord by looking all these things. Not that actually you independently worship any of these things. Yeah, getting it? Okay.
Yeah, so I think we discussed this in the last session. That was the
Mm.
topic, no? Ebyanna
Mm.
Devada Bhakta, right?
Mm.
Ajante Shraddhanvida, Tepi Mameva Kaunteya, Ajante
Ajanti
Avidhi
Avidhi
Purvakam.
Purvakam. Yeah, Avidhi means Vidhi means the normal path. Avidhi means wrong path, improper path. Purvakam really means the real path. Avidhi Purvakam really means improperly worshipping me, not the proper way. It's like if you actually have a person, you actually worship that person directly. Instead of that, actually go all over the world and like this, and then try to feed yourself. It's not. It's not completely wrong. It is just improper in the sense. Why is it required? You know the Supreme Lord, so why do you want to actually go through these kind of paths? But the Vedas as such, if you see the Karma Kanda, it talks about the first child serve all these people. Then when you are completely satisfied with all these things, go to the next step, they say. But end of the day, our lives are so short that we'll never get satisfied. Your desires keep increasing again. Every time actually from your childhood, how many desires we have got? And these one after another desires keep coming. When you say actually I'm satisfied with this life, I don't want anything else in this life. Have you ever thought like that? I haven't actually thought. I've never got into a stage wherein I'll say, "Oh, enough, my lord. I want to come back to you. Give me no." I still feel like there's some enjoyment in life. Yeah, that's how it is. Yes, Ranchor Prabhu. It's good actually. You people should come together like this and then attend the Bhakti Viksha programs. You learn step by step all these things slowly, and then when as you go along, you'll also start getting your own realizations. Of course, the realizations has to be verified by the Shastras. Otherwise, it will be just your mental speculation. Because all of us actually have a mind, and this mind is actually going to give you many thoughts, many ideas, and all these ideas need not be correct. So we need to actually verify it with the Shastras and see what is mentioned in the Shastras, and based on that, we should actually get convinced. Yes, this is correct understanding. This is not correct understanding, like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Roji. So
Yes.
anybody else and any questions? Otherwise, we can wind up. Chitra Mataji, do you have any questions?
No, Prabhuji. No,
Okay.
Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay. I think everybody has. So yeah.
Okay. So next class, you shouldn't have any doubts, Prabhu. Ranchar Prabhu.
All doubts are
Just kidding.
clarified.
Yeah. So okay. I mean, in the sense like, yeah, doubts are bound to come, but please keep asking these doubts. Sometimes the doubts actually don't get satisfactory answer, but Paramatma is there in your heart. If you are sincere, he will actually give you a convincing answer. So it takes time. Everything takes time. But only thing is you need to actually have the dedication. That's all it is. Yeah. Thanks, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thanks for all of you to join this session. So we'll see. We'll meet again sometime whenever Ranchar Prabhu calls me. Welcome. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Ranchar
Yeah,
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all devotees, and thank you
Hare
Kripamaya
Krishna.
Prabhu for
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna,
Prabhuji.
Prabhu.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Hare
you so
Krishna,
much.
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Ranchar Prabhu,
Yes.
why are you not actually canceling the call?
No, I just thought if you want to say something in the end.
No, it is
I-
good actually. I mean, because see, all of us actually have some ability. So you are using your ability in getting more people to actually get to the real path, right? This is what is Lord Chaitanya's desire, basically, to give every conditioned soul an opportunity to go back to Krishna, right? But we'll on the path, we'll always find many people actually, because of the past experiences, will actually have more and more doubts we see practically, right? So many things will keep coming. So good, nice, continue it.
yes, Prabhu.
People are not going away, bro. They're like magnet coming back again. Very nice, actually. Good. Thanks, bro. I'll drop off. Okay, is that
Yeah,
fine?
Prabhu. No,
Yeah.
you're winding up. I'll end the call now.
Yes,
Right.
bro. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you all devotees. Meet again next week. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice. Thank you.